Welcome and thank you so much for clicking on my video. Today we're going to be going over some technical analysis, and last week we did notice the basing out signals and we were able to hold at higher levels, even seeing volume come in a little bit. So are we going to be able to close up in this green box up here, which would be those yellow lines, right? Those monthly expected moves saying we have a 68% chance to close in that zone by the end of the month. And this is the problem here. If we're going to go down to that unfinished business, it might want to be quick because we do not have much time left to get back into the 68% zone. So let's get into it. So the first point is just that, are we going to actually be able to get into this 68% zone by the end of the month? Do we have signals that can hold up better to get us into that zone? Or are we going to go down and get that unfinished business from 550 from just a couple of weeks ago? So we're going to go into those shorter time frames. We notice that we're using right now the monthly expected move as resistance. So this is always another possibility. And we want to see if we're going to end up back in that zone. Well, the daily chart was able to curl up. Now, this is a negative bar, so I would like to see a nice green one to tell us, yes, we are getting back above that 200. Because if we head back up to these areas and get rejected again, we could go down to that 550. So let's go into the 2-hour chart. As we go into the 2-hour chart, you will notice down here some daily expected moves and weekly expected moves. So 577.57 to the upside. And you do have 550.39 to the downside. And we noticed that 550 was the key level for last week. We noticed that the gap is around that level and it is well within the weekly expected moves, which means this is a definite possibility for this week. But so is this. So let's see what happens early on. We do notice that as of right now, the 2-hour is curled down really, really close to the center line. So if we just get a little bit of positivity here, hey, that might shoot you up, maybe do a daily expected move for some consolidation. But if we see something a little crazy for the day, we could end up pretty quickly to that upside level. This overall would be a good thing. You would see that daily MACD curled up again and again and again, and maybe we're able to make an upside move for a little bit of time here. Now, there are some things that I think you need to be aware of as we talk about potential upside, which would be data, right? We need to probably talk about data because early on in the week, we don't really see much down the tape, right? Monday, Tuesday, yeah, we get these little peaks, consumer confidence, new home sales. But I think the important day, even durable goods on Wednesday, I think the important day is going to be Thursday. I think Thursday and Friday are going to start up some important days. So we need to see what stocks look like by Thursday and Friday because we get the GDP growth rate and we will go down there and get the core PCE, personal income, personal spending. Personal income, personal spending can be very important to dictate, hey, how strong is the consumer? So there's some data we can pay attention to. So pretty much it is, hey, if that 2-hour can curl up, we have a good shot to get to that upside weekly expected move. But if we do that before big data comes in, just be cautious if that wants to reverse back down and doesn't hold up better. If we're going to head to the downside early on in the week, which I think is still a definite possibility, well, then this 2-hour is already crossed down. We're going to see this reject, and most likely we need to be looking at 30-minute charts at this point because the 30-minute chart has turned up. Really, this one's leaning towards the positive direction, okay? As of right now, we see that curl up at the end of the day on Friday. So for the daily expected moves, 569.37 to the upside, and we have 558.59 to the downside. I would assume that if we are going to head down to fill this gap, it is either going to be early on this week or we are going to see some great positive price action that then turns up the daily chart for the daily to become more complex. Now, we are going to talk about how the daily could become more complex maybe throughout this week a bit, maybe in one of these videos. It will be something more macro to pay attention to, but it is possible because we've already made it more complex on the 30-minute. We're trying to possibly make that more complex on the 2-hour. And then if we see a big move and that fails, we could make that complex on the daily. And that's just volatility for you. That's just how a bear market likes to behave. This is great bear market practice. As of right now, the 30-minute is turned up, so we can pay attention to that upside. And we know we have ran into problems a lot in these areas. So if we do see this curl up and curl back down and we're able to hold all the divergence points from the high, we might be looking at that 550 sooner than you think for the SPY. So there's a bunch of things to pay attention to, and really reacting and trading like water is going to be a very good thing. Always having a plan because volatility is still here. The basing out signals have shown up. The 2-hour, if that can confirm up, that would really look like a flag into a higher low. So we just have to be cautious with any kind of reversal signal we see in the upward direction if we are going to see this upside move. The Qs were able to turn up the daily chart, just so you are aware, and they were able to get back in that monthly expected move, which is fantastic to see. So going into the 2 hour, we'll notice here that the 2 hour has never crossed for the Qs. So the Qs are not saying even a little bit in the charts right now. You would need to see further price action in order for that to say, hey, yes, we are going to turn down and we are going to fill this gap down here by 468. But notice that the weekly expected move, the upside 494.28 to the upside, great level to get to. Even if you got past that, I would really like that to get past that level and then see that consolidation. And maybe we end up seeing something crazy with that data. So we'll be paying attention to it. GDP overall is supposed to still come down a little bit, but overall positive at about 2.8. So 467.40, we noticed that that would include that gap. So we need to be paying attention to it. If the 2 hour does confirm down and we start to take out these levels down here, hey, yeah, you're pretty much a straight shot to go to that weekly expected move at 467.40, just so you are aware. If the 2 hour can remain positive, we would look for that upside move. As of right now, the 30-minute, we do see this as, I mean, really, this looks like just volatile consolidation. We see a big swing, a smaller swing, maybe a smaller swing. Maybe we keep doing that kind of thing throughout Monday. So we might need some levels to pay attention to. As of right now, the 30-minute MACD is turned up into positive territory, so the upward level to pay attention to is 485.70 to the upside, and then to the downside, 475.98 to the downside. If we are going to continue to maybe get tighter and tighter in here before we're able to expand, well, that is something that can take place here. So something interesting here will be are the Qs going to be able to consolidate further, or is this 30-minute curling down going to see that crazy moment to go down towards that 568 level and fill this gap? You are at a time where you have built a base, but you can always build a little bit more complex base. This thing can go on for a little bit of time. So that means we need to be trading like water and making sure that everything is good and our expiration looks good and all that stuff. Because if it's coming on Friday, we might have a rip around kind of market still, but I am slightly leaning towards more upside than down, even if we go in the downside direction first. Apple doing some good stuff, able to hold up really well as it violates through the flagging that really was going on here. It was very controlled, and something very likely was Apple to need to make a stronger base. But Apple can make a stronger base on the 30-minute as long as everything stays good. And you'll notice that Apple does not have any divergence at this point. Apple really looks like, hey, we're trying to get to that key level, get a big scoop down, right? We get to the first key level, the first real breakdown area that was retested. We see that right there. We get there. We see the consolidation. Yes, we do see reversal signals, and the 2 hour was not able to cross. So if that 30-minute curls up, you can see more upside and look for something like 222, I think would be fantastic for a first place to get to. But we always say this about stocks, right? If they look anything like this, they're going to need a lot of work to go positive. And you'll notice looking at that 30-minute MACD down there, that 130-minute divergence has produced positivity really ever since. I know we came down and broke that for a bit of time there, but you always want to be aware if that is reacting right back up. And we notice that reaction happens in a big order at the end of the day. So very interesting for Apple. I still do believe that Apple will see a snapback. I just never believed that this was the easiest trade setup out of all of them. If you want something that looks maybe even just a little bit easier, I would say Tesla did look a little bit easier. I don't think it was the easiest. I do think there were easier ones out there to potentially, risk behind. But for the moment, you do see that Tesla even is curled up on the daily chart. That is a good sign. We see that the 2 hour chart here is what we were watching because, once again, what do these stocks have to do to take back the 5? Well, we like to see divergence or a higher low. And in this scenario, you really did pretty much have a higher low, very, very tight there, but you do have it and it curls up closer to the center line, which means we're going to take back that 5, which is a very good shot to curl up the daily MACD. And that actually did happen over the last 2 trading sessions. So very, very nice for Tesla to see this. And right as everyone's bearish on this, I'm just going to tell you right now, I think, yeah, we could have more complexity to go. We are super deep on these MACDs, so don't think that this has to be some kind of mega squeeze right now. We could see some price action that causes people to get a bearish moment. We could see some price action that even goes deeper than these levels to get people really, really bearish, maybe right before earnings. So we will be paying attention to it. We'll be looking into this stuff as it develops. But as of right now, it really looks like to me, Tesla is seeing that upside move. It's trying to go into positive territory with the 2 hour. And it looks like if it can break through these levels, we might be in a straight shot to go test something like 280. And right as everyone is, for some reason, I don't know why, all these weirdos on everywhere are like celebrating the demise of Tesla. Well, right when they're celebrating it, Tesla might rip by, say, 50% over the next like 2 months. So we'll be watching it, but Tesla looks a little bit better than Apple. I think both of them have been a little bit more complex than something we're going to go over in the next slide. Time for Amazon, and I'm in this so you can say I'm a little bit biased, but I was always looking for, I really like when they're at the same time. So when I saw this, I saw the divergence on the 2 hour and the 2 hour MACD and RSI at the same time. I'm going, yes, this is where I actually want to potentially risk money, and this can curl up daily charts. And we do notice that the daily chart did confirm up with a positive bar above the 9, crossing the MACD, crossing on the RSI. This is a good confirmation from Amazon. And going back over to that 2 hour chart, you're going to see if I show you, this is what really differentiates it from, say, like Apple or a Tesla. And we'll get back into it with Meta, but look at this on your RSI. It is just ramping, 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 getting tight, ready for that explosive move. And then we see that little explosive move here. It gives it up. So we'll see if this is able to continue that positivity. Obviously, we have new updated weekly expected moves over on Patreon. If you want to join Patreon, this is usually the week where I really like to say it is very good to join Patreon because we will have monthly expected moves out for you. And that is something that is very, very helpful. We've noticed them be very, especially in these volatile times, having a point to pay attention to, using the data from the options market to tell, hey, are they unexpecting? Are they expecting this? Is this unexpected move? Are we creating reversal signals, and are they getting caught off guard? Well, we're in one of those scenarios now, and you're hitting a massive amount of monthly expected moves. So just be aware that monthly expected moves can help you, and so can the weeklies, especially on this. If the 2 hour is able to rotate down, maybe we're able to go down to lower levels. We'll see if we can continue to hold all those divergences. But right now, Amazon's been bottled up for a long time that it really looks like it wants to see an upward move right freaking now, and then it curls up a daily chart. So that's a fantastic thing. Going into the 30-minute, just briefly here, we'll notice it's curled up into positive territory. It's kind of lackluster at this moment with the price action, little wick coming in at the end of the day. We can see how very simply, if this curled down, it would go into negative territory, which would overall point to deeper prices. If that curls down and curls back up, hey, no big deal. But if that curls down far enough and curls down to 2 hour, looks like we're chopping that low. Maybe going to make a new one for Amazon. As of right now, I'm not necessarily leaning towards that. That's why I'm in calls on Amazon. During the live show for Nvidia, we were talking about, well, yes, the daily chart has curled up, and this is why we really want to be aware. If this is going to become more complex on the daily, Nvidia's one we can actually talk about that, right? If it sees some kind of A, B, C type of move and that completely flushes down, we see a 2 hour divergence or something up here, well, then you can go down to deeper prices and make people even bearish than they are right now, right? We can see this get up to that center line, curl back down, maybe even make a divergence point. But here's the thing, maybe not, right? We're still going to treat this very seriously with the environment we're in if a daily chart does cross down for Nvidia, but we'll be paying attention to April's monthly expected moves. And if it's going to behave like this month, well, we're most likely to go to a monthly expected move, set up a divergence, and then bounce. So we'll be watching it. But for the most part, for Nvidia, this is very, very nice for the 2 hour to be so positive, because it means, yeah, you can fool around in here. And if this is a consolidative move to curl up in a positive territory, it could just be a simple A, B, C type of move, which is fantastic for Nvidia. But we were aware that this could be something a little bit different to go pull down and fill this gap. So it'll be important to pay attention to where that weekly expected move is and see if it's possible. And you can get that information down in the description on Patreon. For the 30-minute chart, as of right now, it would say Monday. It is not leaning towards downside. I know it's crazy to say, and we're still below the 5, so it's a little bit like, not the best. You would have liked to see that strength just take you above the 5 a little bit, but you did confirm up on the MACD, you did confirm up on the RSI, and you did confirm up with the price action, which would say on Monday we have a good shot to test this high. If not, break through and go make a new one. So we'll be paying attention to Nvidia because Nvidia is one of the ones that had good reversal signals, right? I was kind of comparing these to, say, Tesla or, say, Apple. And Apple just had a 30-minute divergence, but Nvidia here actually had a triple divergence on your MACD and RSI at the same time. So that's fantastic. And look at that. It produced positivity, and that's just a great thing for Nvidia. So as of right now, if this can just remain positive and curl up again on the 2 hour, we might be seeing another big move to where? Well, maybe a weekly expected move upside this week for Nvidia. Meta is one that has not curled up on the MACD. It has seen it on the RSI. We have not seen it from the price action. We have not seen it from the MACD. This is another one that I'm in at this point, though, because I'm seeing a lot of good things. And maybe you're even seeing this on the RSI down there, and you're like, wow, is that daily divergence on the RSI? But it's not on the MACD at the same time. So we always want to be open to that being more complex, but we'll talk about that as we see more price action. The important chart here was the 2 hour because that was going to give you a hint, and we haven't curled up the daily yet. So are these signals going to get it right? Right in these areas, we made all those divergences. And once we made this one, we just go, yes, this can still be a solid base. Notice the strong move, but always be aware if we need to make that 2 hour signal at the same time. So we reject off of the 5, we go down to deeper prices, we set up multiple divergence points here, and you finally see it right here on the MACD and the RSI at the same time. And that's when I really like to pay attention. But just so you're aware, for Meta, you have held every single divergence point still to this point, and it's kind of looking like an Amazon. That's why I like it so far. And it's just a fantastic look for the time being. We'll see if that positivity can continue. Obviously, if the 2 hour rotates down, we are very likely to cut that low and go make a new one. But the monthly expected moves for a lot of these stocks are suggesting that the percentages, the probabilities, the bouncing should take place this week to get back in those monthly expected moves if they're going to get it right, right? It's a 68% chance thing. It's not 100%. They can land outside of those monthly expected moves. As long as we're paying attention to the signals outside of there, we should be pretty comfortable with how these things are going to behave. If the 2 hour crosses down, we can make a new low. But the 30-minute was able to curl up into positive territory at the end of the day on Friday. Friday, we do notice that was able to curl up. We do see the potential structure, right, to actually head higher. So let's see if that's going to take place because we did confirm up into positive territory on the 30-minute. So Meta would be suggesting, at least from this 30-minute chart, that it wants to see more positivity from the price action that we have here on Monday. You look at things like Microsoft and you just go, wow, okay, if it just saw this big buy come in and then it just completely sells it off now, I'm not necessarily leaning towards that at this point. I mean, you're starting to see some big buys come in. You saw that good volume bar at the end of the day. We just haven't really gotten that full follow through from the SPY or the Qs just yet. You will notice that the daily has been confirmed up for a while. Once again, if we want to make this more complex, we can see an upside move and fail that in some way to turn back down and then make this more complex. Like I said, we're going to talk about that probably towards the end of the week. So as of right now, the daily chart is curled up. We aren't dramatically far away from that center line, kind of like a Tesla or something like that is, but it is still far away. So this will take a lot of work to go higher, and most likely we'll need to build structure by breaking out of a zone, maybe going to a key level, breaking out of that zone, testing back in it, and then seeing that upside move, because that's how you like to get out of these little zones here, maybe using 393.20 as a good point of reference. As the 2 hour chart stands, that would show up on the 2 hour with that breakthrough. Hey, we get a strong move from the 2 hour. It sees maybe even just a 30-minute pullback. Then we curl up into positive territory for Microsoft. We're aware, though, that if the 2 hour is by that center line and it just reverses down for any reason, we can always go fill this gap. We can always go test this low and go make a new one. So it's just about trading like water for Microsoft, but a solid move at the end of the day. Google as well, you're just seeing reversal signals everywhere. I mean, honestly, you're just getting reversal signals everywhere. The daily scale was able to confirm up for Google. You're noticing, see how that's just a little bit of distance there. But the 2 hour chart gave you this hint, right? We said when you come down to here, and guess what? If you're on Patreon, you had a level for this and the wick, like right on the wick here. We did have a solid move there. And so, right as everyone was like, Google is going to absolutely crash now on this bar, we just go, it's probably going to wick up. Right, you can literally go look at the video, and I'm like, I'm looking for a wick right here, and then it wicks up, and then we curl up in a positive territory, and you confirm divergence all across this. So you do notice on that RSI, if I pull it up here, hey, all the points are higher than the previous. That's fantastic. That tells us there's divergence, and a daily chart can curl up, and guess what? The daily chart curled up. So that's a fantastic thing. Obviously, if the 2 hour is going to rotate down, that is still negative. So we would look for a possible downside move where we can pay attention maybe to a weekly expected move. But the 30-minute was able to curl back up into positive territory, suggesting that the 30-minute would need to curl down very quickly early on in the week in order to curl that 2 hour down very quickly as well. And we'll notice that on the 30-minute, we reacted to a key level. You see the left, you see the head, you see the possible right shoulder. If we can break through that and use that as support, hey, you might be getting all the way back up to fill in these gaps up here towards 175. AMC able to do something good, able to keep that 2 hour curl up and positive. It was on the last bar of the day, so I'm not the happiest with it. I'm aware that this can continue to break down. But the reason that I like AMC at this moment is just the daily divergence. The daily divergence looks really nice. So if this is able to break through a key level, well, then we can maybe see some big upside. And that's really what I want to see from AMC, right? That's when I put the option on, always holding onto the stock just to have it in case something did happen, right? If people end up being right. But at times, we see a daily signal, and I like to put some options behind that, and options are pretty damn cheap over there. So, something for AMC that we like to do is give you the upside level to break through to see something crazy. The implied volatility for AMC this week has increased, which is funny because the implied volatility for the SPY and the QQQ have actually decreased again for the second week in a row, which is something we were looking for to see actual surprising upside. But 342 is going to be the key thing. We see that even if we break through 342, we can react to 370, maybe see that pull all the way back, and then see if that's able to confirm in the upward direction for the daily chart. We will see. But as this has daily divergence, I want you to go back and look at, what was it, 2021 or something like that, 2021? I want you to go look at the moment where the big thing happened and look at the daily chart, because you're going to see a signal just like this one, and that's why I'm paying attention to it. It means you could be in some kind of maybe melt up phase, maybe some unexpected news comes out, and this thing does see a rip, but we know that these things fail all the time, so I always give you the level to pay attention to. 342 is where the fight is really going to begin, and see if AMC can break through it. If it can, good stuff. Most likely you want to see that early on in the week. GME seeing a nice big green bar at the end of the week. Now, you're probably looking at this MACD hoping there's divergence. There is not divergence as of right now for GME, and it has earnings. What I like to say around earnings time a lot, they need to produce something that's completely unexpected great news, because most likely this dip down in the market allows people to have liquidity to fight things that they do not want to go up, right? If the problem is really there, then this downside move would potentially be the way that they could get that liquidity and then fight the stock again. But we'll see if this is able to see some good upside. As of right now, I mean, if you really look at the weekly chart, you're going, hey, if that thing curls up in a positive territory, well, the last time it curled up with divergence down here, well, you went from a price point of 1683 to a high point of all the way up to 6458 or something like that. So, a weekly cross up into positive territory can produce positivity. And so maybe we need to see that again to break through these levels and go make a new high, maybe even towards 4757 on the weekly chart. So we'll be paying attention to it as we go into a 2 hour or something like that. Obviously, we want to be aware that the 2 hour chart can curl down early on in the week, right? We have earnings coming up, but it's pretty positive. So unless this is able to see some decently dramatic downside, we could just hold up better, right? We could see a further upside move, get that to consolidate, and then break through again. That would simply look like a pull back, maybe even crossing that center line to curl back up into positive territory. But we just have to watch out for this one because of earnings. Earnings can be just a 50-50 flip. So if you want to watch out for dramatic upside, or you're looking for where that fight would possibly begin this week, you're looking at 28.35. You would need to break through 28.35 to see that good upside. As of right now, GameStop, I believe, I'm going to double check real quick, but I believe this did increase in the implied volatility. You have seen sub 70 implied volatility for the weekly move for GME for months now. So very low implied volatility there. And then all of a sudden, now it's, of course, it's with earnings, because earnings will do that to you. But now it's back above 120%. So you have to be a little cautious with this. This thing can rip around. It's not like other stocks, right? High implied volatility. Sometimes they just sit it flat so that they could, market makers could potentially just take everyone's money. Well, for GME, most likely it wouldn't sit flat, and if they're going to make a move, it most likely would be to suppress the stock. So somewhere to suppress the stock, actually, if it got to that weekly expected move, that would be great. You see some kind of sell off, and then right as everyone sells it down, ooh, what if this type of thing does happen? So be watching out for 28.35. Got to break through that to see something truly crazy for GameStop. Volatility has been very nice to us. We saw the double bottom. We were able to get that reaction. We saw that fade, right? We were looking for the 2 hour to fade that move, but did the 2 hour wipe out all of its signals? No, it didn't. So even if we get one more upside move and volatility drops off, we're really looking if it holds this divergence. If it wipes out that divergence and then gets some kind of, bounce that pulls back the SPY, that's not necessarily a big deal. But if you look at this MACD, you see that. You look at the RSI, you see that at the same time. So you do have divergence down here that could turn things to the upside pretty aggressively for volatility. So there is still some risk out there. There's still some risk out there. But I think the main risk to pay attention to, if we're going to see dramatically lower prices, people calling for 5, 10, even 20% crashes from these levels, when our percentages are just not pointing to that right now, and the signals are kind of disproving that as of right now. But just in case they are right, you're looking for, hey, can that 2-hour actually get a strong move and close above the 9? See that daily MACD curl up, see that daily RSI get back above that center line. That's when things get a little more risky. But I'll tell you one thing. A lot of the time when you're about to see an upside move, hey, volatility makes a reversal signal, then something unexpected happens and it keeps failing those signals, and it'll make it again and fail those signals, and it'll make it again and fail those signals. That happens a lot, and that's what usually points you towards squeeze. So we'll be watching that. Another thing that would really help out the volatility to squeeze a little bit better here would be if we start to close below that 200 and maybe even make moves down towards 1212. So for my assessment going into the end of the week, yes, the CPC has not given us those big bearish reads, which is very interesting, but we are seeing the bull bear surveys, we're seeing the put volume, we're seeing high levels of that, but we're just not seeing it in the CPC, which does convince me, hey, I need to be aware if this is some kind of daily bounce that then makes a daily divergence later, or some kind of daily lower high. So I will be watching it, but as of right now, it looks like that we have made some kind of base. If this base right now can hold, we can start to head in that upward direction, and most, if not all, of our probabilities are pointing in that upward direction, and the reversal signals are pointing there too. So I think that there is a serious edge to the bulls here, and the bears, even if we get one more downward move, it might just be to trick them before something big happens to the upside. So we'll be watching it with you this week, all week live. And that's right, the live shows, guys. If you want to click down in the description, there is a link to Rumble. I've moved it down below most of the other links, but it will be to join us for the closing stream, right? We do live streams in the morning, every single morning at the open here on YouTube, but we are adding to the community a little bit more time, a little bit more benefit, a little bit more live video, and that would be at the end of the day towards the close. We will be doing live videos over on Rumble, so make sure you join us over there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. You guys are fantastic, liking, subscribing, doing all those good things. I'll continue to watch this stock market with you, and we'll continue to trade like water and make sure we are thinking about how we are going to manage our risk at almost all times, because volatility still remains in that upward direction. Thank you, guys. Have a great week. Have some good food today, some good lunch, maybe watch some basketball, treat yourself well, and then be ready and reloaded to go for tomorrow. All right, guys. Peace out.